Hello, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Daisy. I am the account executive here at 79 Consulting. As the account executive, I'm the point of contact for product demos, sales, customer-facing questions, and the occasional webinar. We have an exciting topic to discuss today in demand planning and what NetSuite's tool can bring to your business. But let's go through a few things first. Throughout this webinar, we'll be walking you through a live demo in NetSuite. We'll be using a NetSuite test account, which may be slower than you're used to, so please be patient with us. We also have a chat feature where you can ask questions, and we'll also be asking a few poll questions throughout this time. We'll cover some of the terminology being used today and what those definitions are surrounding demand planning within the supply chain management areas. We'll also do a couple of walkthrough demos in NetSuite directly. Lastly, I'd like to share a few pieces of background information pertaining to our company, 79 Consulting. You may know us by Tarana, which is still our company, though primarily used outside of the US. Our name was hard to pronounce, so we changed it to make it easier for our clients. So don't worry if this is your first time learning about 79 Consulting. We've actually been around for well over 12 years. So as a company, we were founded in 2007 as a Salesforce and NetSuite consulting firm. And in 2008, we became a NetSuite solution provider. In 2014, we created our first suite app, SkyDoc, which is a storage solution for NetSuite. We now have over 8 apps on suiteapp.com and continue to provide support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite and Salesforce clients. And now, let's introduce our presenter, Eric Holzer. Eric is our NetSuite Senior Architect who comes to us with over 9 years of experience on NetSuite, primarily focused on manufacturing and inventory distribution environments. His direct industry experience allows him to adjust to our clients' unique requirements and provide us with his knowledge for this webinar. Let's give a warm welcome to Eric.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to share my insights. Daisy, I had noticed one thing in the chat. Can everybody else on the webinar hear Daisy and myself speaking?
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with a very quick poll question. So you should see the poll question populate on your screen momentarily. Okay, now let's get started, shall we? Let's start off with a very basic question. What exactly is demand planning?
Hi, Daisy. Thanks. Yeah. So demand planning is a supply chain management process of forecasting or predicting the demand for products to ensure they can be delivered to satisfy customers' requested and or expected delivery dates. The goal here is to strike a balance between having sufficient inventory levels to meet customer needs without producing a surplus. Ultimately, excess product of the shelf is capital tied up.
Thanks for that explanation, Eric. Can you go into detail as to why demand planning is so important?
Sure, I can do that. There are a couple important reasons that I'd like to go over. First, when product isn't available for customers to purchase because of stocking issues, businesses may end up losing out on revenue. Even more importantly, over time, they could lose the customer altogether to a competitor. The other side of that coin is sitting on excess of unused inventory, which incurs unnecessary space and/or production costs. With demand planning, business leaders can stay in front of market shifts and make more proactive decisions while being responsive to their customers' needs. An important note there is, with demand planning, allows a business to become more proactive compared to reactive.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, now back to our webinar. Eric, can you tell us how NetSuite handles demand planning?
Sure. Since we covered at a high level what demand planning is in a base, we'll cover what NetSuite offers within the module for demand planning. So the NetSuite native demand planning module is specifically designed to provide the user with the ability to predict required inventory based on historical demand or sales forecasts. The calculated demand plan can then be leveraged to analyze supply requirements on inventory levels and/or required production of assembled goods. One of the key features that NetSuite delivers is the ability to easily define multiple inventory locations with real-time visibility. Locations can be organized hierarchically, and for global businesses, you can define the country as well. During the planning process, the system can be set up to automatically create transfer orders between locations where necessary by utilizing a replenish by location report. Demand can be evaluated and presented in a number of different ways using the demand planning process. The menu structure is laid out in a way that shows the process to calculate demand, review the demand plans, and edit where required. Once satisfied with the demand plan calculations, we can then generate the supply plans, review and edit those, finally generating planned purchase orders and/or planned work orders.
Thanks for that, Eric. So what are some of the most common planning methods?
Yes, good question. So NetSuite utilizes 4 of the most industry standard or common practices. The first one being linear regression. Linear regression uses previous demand to project future inventory based on the ordinary least square regression method. Second, we have moving average. By using the moving average of historical demand to calculate the overall average stock level needed, and then project future stock levels using that overall average. Third, we have seasonal average, which takes previous demand to examine the seasonal trend of inventory flow, and then project a similar seasonal trend for future stock levels. Our fourth option is our forward-looking option here called sales forecast. When using NetSuite for your sales operations, this option uses forward-looking sales forecast data, such as opportunities, estimates, sales orders, or work orders to project the inventory demand. NetSuite's demand planning can also be used to offer your sales team important product availability information during the sales cycle process by introducing an expected shipment date by the automatically calculated available to promise function.
Eric, you just mentioned available to promise. Can you go over that functionality, please?
Sure. So available to promise, or ATP, which is included in the NetSuite demand planning module, can be determined by one of 2 different types of calculations. The first one being cumulative available to promise with look ahead. Using the cumulative ATP method, supply estimates are cumulative based on all outstanding orders within a horizon. This allows you to account for shortages that may occur in the future. Or the second option is discrete available to promise. The discrete ATP method reviews the amount of inventory available in each supply order and provides an available date for the given quantity. So these supply calculations are based on future dated non-posting transactions, such as purchase orders, sales orders, and work orders. These supply calculations offer added visibility for both purchasing and sales departments into the projected ship date of goods during the ordering process. It allows the user to check item availability based on open or outstanding supply type orders, as well as demand-based orders. We can see all of our demand and supply needs by viewing what NetSuite produces as the gross requirements inquiry page. And we will show some of this information as we get through the live demo. But what the gross requirements inquiry page provides is an overview of the progressive supply and demand cycle by listing quantities required and quantity supplied on each transaction date listed. Each transaction end date is listed along with more on hand or a less on hand quantity of the transaction, as well as the resulting total quantity on hand for the item. So now we've discussed a few of the specific attributes of the module. Let's kind of go into exactly how a demand plan works and then what a supply plan does and how that works in conjunction. So a demand plan records the expected future demand for an item based on previous or projected demand, right? NetSuite allows you to automatically generate demand plans, or the user can choose to manually create or enter an item demand plan. The user can elect to analyze demand by using one of the following methods. You can set a time frame for examining an item's historical sales data and forecast future sales with similar trends, or the user can enter demand plans based on open opportunities, quotes, and existing sales orders. How that ties in for the supply plan side is supply plans are the recorded recommended schedule for procuring and or manufacturing of additional supply of an item. NetSuite utilizes two options for replenishment methods on an item. They are reorder point and time phased. When we used reorder point, NetSuite will incorporate all location-based reorder points, lead times, safety stock, preferred stock level, along with the current demand by location when calculating the item supply plan. Note also that multi-tiered assemblies are considered. The generated supply plans will suggest or may auto-generate sub-assembly work orders as well as components required for the builds. So now that we have covered what NetSuite offers in demand planning, in a moment we're going to jump over into NetSuite to demonstrate some of this functionality.
Thanks so much, Eric.
Thank you, Daisy. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to take control here. Please let me know when everybody can see the NetSuite dashboard.
I can see it.
Excellent. So here's a quick view of the landing page when I first log into NetSuite. This dashboard is geared towards a purchasing manager role. So I have some quick buttons at the top that will allow me to navigate directly to those pages, some reminders on the left, quick one-click link shortcuts to specific functions I need to navigate to daily. I get some KPIs, some trend graphs, and overall base analysis on orders and outstanding inventory here. Okay, each dashboard is customizable to the user, and as well as you can reorganize this and add additional KPIs or other shortcuts as needed. Okay, so today we're going to start at the item master record in NetSuite. This is where transactions look to understand how to function from an item perspective. Today we're going to look at our 400-watt power supply. I have chosen my available to promise method as cumulative with look ahead. My replenishment method I have chosen as time phased. I have a few inventory attributes up here. I'm letting the system auto calculate my purchase lead time, and I have a safety stock level of 14 days. As I scroll down, today we are going to be focusing on location 01 San Francisco. So I have 10 units on hand. As I scroll across to the right, I will have a list of additional columns for demand planning. Lot sizing method is utilized for supply type ordering. Lot for lot would be single lot size to match the supply quantity generated. Notice over here my supply type is purchase. If this were an assembly item, the supply type could be build. I also have the option to purchase assembly items in the system. Today I'm going to be using a demand source type of entered and planned orders. So each location can utilize different demand sources, as well as a demand time fence, a planning time fence, reschedule in and out days. Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and just navigate through the menu and we'll get started on our demand plans. As you can see, I have demand planning, run demand planning, list from top to bottom, as I would start with calculate item demand plans. If I wanted to manually create an item demand plan, I can manually adjust one or view a list of current demand plans. Same goes for generate item supply plans and item supply. So I can generate automatically or choose manual or view a list. For order items, mass create work orders and gross requirements inquiry. So today we will start with generate our item demand plan. Here I'm in a multi-subsidiary environment, so I would have to choose subsidiary and then my location, San Francisco. My projection method I'm going to use today is sales forecast. Projection interval, let's take a look at weekly. And I'm going to tell the system how far in the future I would like to look. Let's just use 12 weeks today. Once I'm satisfied, I can go ahead and select the item that I would like to run, or I can choose to mark all items and run at the same time. Once I'm satisfied, I would hit submit. In the event I already have a demand plan in place, as I do, the system will allow me to choose what I would like to do with the current demand plan versus the one it is attempting to generate. I can choose to not overwrite current quantities. Only calculated values would then be updated. Or I can choose to overwrite current quantities and combine my demand. So I'm going to go ahead and overwrite current for today and hit submit. NetSuite will run the process and give us a listing of all current demand plans in the system. I can see the last modified date, the location I ran, and the projection method used. Here I know I ran it for this item. Under San Francisco, I can choose to take a look at my demand plan here. By looking 12 weeks into the future, I can look at a weekly view and see that I have 100 units that have demand on this week and another 200 units on this week. Okay. Once I'm satisfied with this, I can choose to edit this demand plan. I can adjust quantities. I can manually configure this the way I need. This is the system auto-calculated plan, which we are going to use today. Once we have the demand plans, I can choose to either click the quick link here to generate item supply plans, or in our menu, we would be navigating through to our next step, which is generate item supply plans. Again, I'm a multi-subsidiary, so I would choose my subsidiary and location that I would like to analyze supply. This was set for yesterday, so I'm going to take a date back. By default, it will pick today's date and take a 30-day view. I can choose to peer a little further out if I would like. I would choose my item and then go ahead and hit submit. The item supply plan for our item is telling us that we need to, they're suggesting that we should generate a purchase order with a quantity of at least 319 units to cover our current demand. Okay. From here, the system gives us another bulk processing page. If I went back to demand planning, order items, this would be my procurement cycle. Once I come to my order items page, I can choose to view items across all locations if I do centralized purchasing, or I can choose to pick the specific location that I'm looking for supply. I have additional filters at the top to help filter the list down if I have more items than visible. Right now we're looking at our time-phased item, our 400-watt power supply. My item has a preferred vendor, which automatically pulls to this page for me. It is showing my current available stock, which is 0. The quantity the system is suggesting, I can choose to accept this quantity or I can override. Same goes for the rate. This will grab my preferred rate for the supplier, or I can choose to override it at this time. I also have the opportunity to view my reorder point items if I have replenishment methods on other inventory that is reorder point, and we can see a list of additional buys that are being suggested by the system. I could choose to select an item from this page as well as this page. What NetSuite will do is combine like suppliers together to produce a multi-line purchase order, or generate 2 different purchase orders based on the 2 suppliers I have chosen. Once I am satisfied, I would hit submit. NetSuite will go to a bulk processing page where it is generating purchase orders in the background for me. Now, this also will accommodate approval process routing for purchase orders. I can see I've already got my first purchase order here for the item that we have been talking about today, which is our power supply. I can choose to view the purchase order or allow it to follow an approval routing. So that does it for me on the demand planning side within NetSuite today. I'll hand this back over to Daisy.
Thanks so much, Eric. So let's go into a little bit on inventory count. We've gone over a lot of information, so we'll take this a little slow. Inventory count is our suite app that helps users sync the physical warehouse inventory to, the physical warehouse to inventory on NetSuite, and utilizes 3 types of counts: serialized, inventory, and lot. Eric will now go through a quick demo of inventory count, so I'll go ahead and let him take over the screen.
Thank you, Daisy. Yeah, now I wanted to tie this into the demand planning piece, right? Supply and demand planning is great, but it's better when you have accurate inventory, right? To understand your true supply and demand needs and balancing that inventory to meet customer needs. So having accurate inventory counts is imperative to that process. NetSuite does have a few native functions that allow you to do inventory counts and or cycle counts, as well as a worksheet. What this app does is gives us an elevated advanced set of features on top of those. So the first one being one of my favorites, inventory count. This is our app. We can come into item scanning. This allows a user to directly scan into the system for products by location and bin, if those are applicable, without generating separate plans. So from here, I could simply scan in. I do not have a scanner, so I will copy and paste to mimic the functionality. So if I scan my item code and release the trigger, the system brings up the item record and then can tell the system which location I'm counting my inventory. And if a bin is applicable, I could select the bin as well. From here, I could also scan in my serial or lot numbers. We're going to say lot 1, we counted a total quantity of 22, and I would be done with this line. I could then come up here and scan additional items and build this list out until I'm done with my count. So this could be kind of a blind freelance count, just an ad hoc process, right? Once I'm done, I can go ahead and hit submit. And what this does is it processes it into a record for us, which we will then be able to view here. And now the same user or a separate user, generally speaking, would be able to come in here and finalize the adjustment by accepting the new count. Okay, so we see this is the one I just created. Physical quantity of 22. NetSuite said there was 20. We have a variance. If this was a costed item, we would have a variance in cost as well. I could choose to view the count details. Tells me this is a bin item, it's lot numbered, this is the lot we're writing against, right? Total variance. If I agree with this, I could simply check the box to process and hit process. In the background, what we're doing is generating essentially an inventory adjustment, which would be the same as an inventory count directly in NetSuite without the free scanning capability. And I have an inventory adjustment link directly to my record now. Okay. Next, we have additional functionality where we can update our current inventory attributes That is not the right page, I apologize. Where we can update inventory attributes directly, where we have the ability to filter the item list for you and then update your next count dates, intervals in the bins, and then go ahead and submit that, and then NetSuite will run a mass update against those inventory item records for you to clue in what the next count date and then count interval and number of days that you are requiring for an item. Our additional function here is a inventory worksheet. We have a bin worksheet and non-bin worksheet. I will show you the bin worksheet today, as this one has a few more features in it. Here, this is similar to the inventory worksheet page, with the exception we give additional filters here with pre-mapped column heading. So I can choose to select a specific item. I can filter by location that I'm counting. I can choose to grab all bin numbers in the location or select specific bin. If the items are serialized or lot numbered, I can choose yes, no, or all. I want the mix, or if I want to separate my serialized, I have that opportunity. Once I'm satisfied with my list, I can then export to CSV, Excel. I can view a PDF, print the document, or I can go ahead and just email this to, say, another team member of mine who might be doing the count or doing the count with me. And we can just email directly from this list. Today, I'm going to grab a CSV file, and it just downloads to the web browser as you would have. Okay. Now we have a listing of all the products from our previous page that we need to count. Once I'm satisfied with it, I can adjust my quantities. Okay. Save the document as CSV. Once I'm satisfied, I can go to import the record directly. I would choose the pre-mapped inventory count suite app import file that we have developed to tie into the worksheet. What this does is just allows us to have a pre-map for the user. So we can just simply, we're going to create a new record, add, next. We get to see our mapping, which is already set. So I don't need to adjust or change anything here. And then from here, I just simply need to run the import. Once I run the import, this process is native NetSuite. We're importing a new record, which is an inventory worksheet. And once that is complete, we will have a new inventory worksheet, inventory count adjustment record in the system. Okay. I also get to choose to see successful inventory count data or failed count data if there were errors. Generally, if we have an error, we would see something to the effect of, maybe somebody scanned a quantity of 5 but only entered 4 serial numbers. Right. So the serial number quantity must match, or a mismatch between bin and location, something to that effect. We would get to see that information specifically, and the help from those is very specific and useful on what the error might have been. Here I can see my actual inventory count that I just brought in. I can also see my adjustment record directly that is linked to the custom record we have generated. See, I've adjusted lot 1 from 20 to 22, total variance of 2. Okay, so coming full circle with this, it's really inventory accuracy feeds accurate demand and supply planning within an organization, both from inventory distribution as well as manufacturing or assembly of product. Okay. But Daisy, that concludes it for me on the inventory count app. I would invite anybody, if they would like to see or hear any additional information about the inventory count app or demand planning, to let us know in the questions.
And that concludes today's webinar. I'd like to give a very big thank you to Eric for providing us with so much useful information. Thanks again, Eric.
Thank you, everyone. Until next time.
Yes, until next time. We'll go ahead and leave with our contact Excuse me, I've had way too much coffee today. We'll leave you with our contact information should you have any questions. Remember, we have team members all over the world to help facilitate your needs. Thank you again, Eric, and goodbye for now.